Greetings, Frederick Riddle here with another Christian News and Views. And this is episode 2625, and this is Friday. And our subject today is regarding the arms treaty negotiations between Russia and the United States. So we'll take a look at this. Russian and U.S. negotiators discussed the expiration of the last remaining nuclear arms pact between the two countries and agreed on the need to quickly launch new arms control talks, the Kremlin said Friday, even as the U.S. emphasized the need for China to join a future arms pact and accused Beijing of covert nuclear tests. Russian and U.S. negotiators discussed the future of nuclear arms control in the United Arab Emirates, where Russian, Ukrainian, and U.S. delegations held 2 days of talks on a peace settlement in Ukraine. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters Friday. There is an understanding, and they talked about it in Abu Dhabi, that both parties will take responsible positions and both parties realize the need to start talks on the issue as soon as possible. Asked to comment on a report by Axios claiming Russian and U.S. negotiators discussed a possible informal deal to observe the pact's limits for at least 6 months, Peskov responded that any such extension could only be formal. It's hard to imagine any informal extension in this sphere, Peskov said. Even as New START expired, the U.S. and Russia agreed Thursday to reestablish high-level military-to-military dialogue following a meeting between senior officials from both sides in Abu Dhabi, the U.S. military command in Europe said. The link was suspended in 2021 as relations between Moscow and Washington grew increasingly strained before Russia sent troops into Ukraine in February 2022. So the whole idea, the whole idea here is to control nuclear weapons. The world has changed since it first was agreed to. Back then, it was just United States and Russia. But now we have a third party involved. So a new arms treaty, this is my opinion, by the way, a new arms treaty would be a good thing to have, but only if the United States truly benefits. And I agree for a treaty to be meaningful, it must include China. They are that third party. And they are very aggressive in their outlook on things of what's good for China. They still want Taiwan, and they're going to be a hard nut to crack here. China has a lot to lose, but well, as long as we have Trump in office, we can handle that. We can negotiate with them. We can, because we have a man who's at the helm that knows how to negotiate and won't give away the shot, as previous presidents have done. And those were with Russia. If China had been on the scene as a nuclear power, world power that it is today, don't know what our previous presidents would have done. But we are now in a situation where we have the United States, Russia, and China. And then there's all these other countries, smaller countries, less powerful, but they got nuclear weapons too. So you could have the United States, Russia, and China all agree, and some little country have a nuclear war with them. I think of Pakistan and India, both of them, I believe, had nuclear power. And there are other countries that have nuclear power. Now, if they attack the United States, or Russia, or China, their little nuclear power would quickly disappear. But that doesn't mitigate the fact that they have the power to cause mayhem. And so I think any future treaty has to include them in some way or form. So hopefully this has been an informative episode for you. I know it's a little on the short side today, but the thing is here, it's not so much quantity we want here. I'm aiming for some quality here right now. And this is something that we live in a world where you have to negotiate. We also live in a world today where it's increasingly hard to compromise. And you have to find areas of common ground where you can compromise. Um, you have evil at the highest places, uh, China, Russia, and like I said, there's other countries. And how much are you going to be able to trust anyone? So you have to have some kind of monitoring involved, um, some way of verifying that they actually are keeping their end of the bargain. Because if the United States is the only one keeping their side of the bargain, and the others are violating it, it's not good. Especially, it's not good for the United States. And so that is something that needs to be taken into consideration, all aspects of it. And while they want to rush it a little bit, and there's apparently no options for extending them. At the same time, I think you got to be cautious and go forward with one step at a time, because you got to be careful what you're giving away, and you got to be willing to think outside the box and think about what kind of weapons might be coming up on the future. I know science fiction talks about laser weapons. Well, we're not too far from that ourselves. Uh, their ability to use the laser beam is as weapons are already making their way into the military, at least military thinking, if not actual weapons. And so it's been a while since I've looked at our weapons in the United States. I used to follow that really close, but I know that they were already getting into weapons along that line. They have some fantastic weapons, all sides do. And so nuclear is not the only thing you need to be concerned with. And I'm wondering if they should broaden it. Or maybe it's best to stick with just the nuclear because that's the deadliest. But at the same time, as we're going into space and things of this nature, um, there's a possibility of a war being fought in space. That's why we have a space force to protect our interests in space. Well, other countries, I think Russia has, I don't know if they have anything equivalent to our space force, uh, but they certainly because of their military mindedness. I think that all their space research, everything goes with a military background and military goals, and things of this nature. China will be the same way. So we got to be careful and just don't make a treaty just to make a treaty, but make sure that we are protected in case they decide that, yeah, we don't need that treaty anymore. So we live in difficult times and we need to learn to communicate with one another so to avoid um, World War One got started because somebody assassinated uh, a, a high level leader in a very small and what at that time was considered insignificant country. But because of treaties and everything else, everybody else was pulled into it and became World War One. We could have that happen again. And so having treaties are wonderful things, but only if they're kept and there's safeguards in place and we have a way of knowing what everybody is, what they're thinking, what they're doing. So I'm not a military expert. I'm not going to even pretend to be, but I will say this, it does, because of our capabilities and theirs, then all sides need to be careful. Do some really deep thinking on this and work it out. In the meantime, it'd help go a long ways to help if Russia would start to negotiate in good faith on the Ukrainian issue. As long as they play games, why should we trust them anywhere else? Just a thought there, folks. Well, you have a great day, and I always try to inform you, encourage you, and inspire you. I hope I've done that today. This is brought to you by TNR Independent Books, which is both a bookstore and a Christian indie publisher. If you are a Christian, you've been born again, you know Jesus Christ is your Savior, and you are active in your church. And I don't care if you're pushing a broom or singing in the choir or working in the office or working outdoors. I don't care. What I care about is, are you active in your church? And if you are, and if you want to be a writer, a published author, then think of us. Because if you don't know how to write, we'll teach you and then publish you. If you already know how to write, we'll work with you and publish you. Very few requirements. Basically, you're talking about the Christian worldview, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. And check us out. I think you'll be interested. You have a great day, and I'll see you in the next episode.